Today is February 13th, 2015, and I included a couple of videos earlier tonight about Brian Haynes and Bo Blixith. And the order of events was that when I was younger, Bo had done something to me. I was a preteen or very young teenager at the time, and then with Robin, when the different rapes started to occur when I was a young adult, it was with Robin in the car using the government strategy that they had developed and forced me to repeat several times by having me do blowjobs and hand jobs for them in vehicles, and you know, threatening me that they would kill me, and definitely torturing me. And then from Robin doing what he did in the car, and then it was Josh Gatov several years later, 6 years or more later after that. And then after that, Brian Haynes started stalking me over at my house in Lake Oswego, which was in the same area that I had met Josh Gatov to basically spend an evening before he raped me, which I didn't know he was going to do. And then after this situation with Brian Haynes, and then Robin Bechtold called me up again in connection with Erica Ballinger. And then, as I described in a different video series, he raped me, not in a car, but while I was lying down, and again used all of the same government triggers and codes for torturing me and facilitating his rape of me. And then from the and Erica Ballinger, as I had described in that video, was you know, had told me that she was going to be my ride home, and I had not had any intention or desire to be driven home by Robin Bechtold or any other man or person, and aside from the woman that I thought was going to be driving me home. And after she did that to me, which I knew was deliberate because I saw her and Robin discussing it over to the side first, and from what I remember, she did give him use of her apartment, or an apartment that I believe it was use of her apartment. But if that's going to be contested, I was told it was her apartment, but I wasn't really sure where she was living at the time, so if that wasn't her actual apartment, it could have been a friend's apartment that she knew. And at some point later, she did have an apartment in that area because I was there in the house, and it was in the exact same apartment complex. So either that was her apartment, or it was a friend's place in the same complex that that she was at least at one point renting from. And then after Robin Bechtold did that to me again, raped me again, then after that it was Mike Tancer. And Mike Tancer is the son of Joy Sterling and Forrest Tancer. And he is, again, like all of these other men who I have described that raped me and stalked me, and who the government was deliberately positioning me to be next to, because For example, I didn't choose to go to Sherwood High School, and my parents didn't look like they were choosing to move there either. It was more like the government was moving us over there. And the only reason the government would move me into the same territory as all of these government kids would have been to facilitate further crimes against me, which they did. And so after Robin did what he did to me again, with Erica Ballinger supposedly going to be the person who dropped me off or the person who gave me a ride home, and who I thought I could trust, then she was involved again in a situation where she was the driver, and it was her car again. And the next time that I was assaulted, she pulled off a much more sophisticated kind of stunt. And I saw what it was, because even though she acted like she was upset and was even mad at me for not going with her in the car when I didn't, which I will explain, I looked away at one point, and then I saw her looking over at Mike Tancer, and they were both smirking over at each other. She had suddenly lost her desperately trying to keep me from going anywhere with him kind of look, and she had completely lost it, and she was actually making direct eye contact with Mike Tancer, like she knew him very well. And in fact she did, because her mom and his mom and all those people had worked together, and I had seen them in the same FBI offices when I was a kid. So anyway, she was smirking over at him, and he was looking at her, and why I didn't just kind of think about it more at the time, I'm not sure. I mean, it registered and I remember it very clearly, but like as occurred in many other situations, I second guessed myself. Even though it was very obvious that something was wrong, I would come up with these various excuses for, well, why it was the way it was, or what could happen. And then other times, on a few occasions that were very rare, when I saw something like that happen, I occasionally would go along with it, pretending like I didn't see it, and then would go into the situation where I knew that they wanted me to go into, just to find out exactly what their motives and intentions had been, and what they were, what they had planned for me. So on in this situation with Mike Tancer, when he was really young, I had actually babysat him. His mom and dad had me babysit him when he was a baby, and I was just a kid myself. And then I saw him again across in the same building as FBI offices in Portland, Oregon, and right across, and it's in like this downtown area in Portland. It's a skyscraper kind of a building. It's a tall building, has several stories and an elevator that goes up. And there's a lab. There's like a science division, and it's supposedly OHSU, like Oregon Health Sciences University, but the FBI accesses it as well. It's not just its own little department that has nothing to do with the FBI. And it is, if you go up to the FBI offices in Portland, Oregon, there's the door, the entrance to go to the FBI, and then if you look across the hall, or on the other side, it's actually the this lab that has microscopes, at least when I was a kid and I was there, tables, like several tables with microscopes, and various things that you could do for examination of materials. Like a research lab is what it looked like. And on the door it says OHSU, It looks like it's affiliated with the university hospital, but in my experience, it was also connected directly to the FBI. It was the same thing, even though the sign on the door kind of makes it look like its own department. It really wasn't. So that is actually another place where I saw Mike Tancer. He was a kid, and he was in that laboratory area. He was like, I don't know, like 8 or so. And and I was also there. You know, I never knew why we were going to some of these places that we went to, but that's where I saw him, and then I saw him outside. I don't remember if it was on some kind of a hike, and they had made me stand in a certain area, and then all the adults left, and they gave Mike a gun. I mean, he was a kid, but they gave him like a rifle, and they made him stand there and supposedly guard me and make sure I didn't move. So he had this rifle with him, and then I was being forced to stay in this one area outdoors. There were no other people around. It was like kind of a remote area. And then all of the adults went off somewhere, and including my parents. I have no idea what they were doing or what they were doing with my parents either. But then this other adult came up and started talking to Mike, called him Mikey, and said, okay, you can let her go or whatever. And so, and again, at that age, he was about, like 8. He was like around 8 years old. He was kind of chubby. and pretty determined. And anyway, so those were some of the situations where I saw Mike. You know, I saw him as a baby. I babysat him at his house in California. And then also in the Oregon area, connected to FBI offices. And when I saw him in connection with Erica Ballinger, and the two of them actually look a lot alike, which is kind of strange. I mean, they look like they could be related. But when I saw him again in the Portland area, it was when Erica had called me up and said, "Do you want to go out and go dancing with me?" Either she had called me up or I had called her up to go out and go dancing, but it was possibly my idea. I'm not sure, but it was her idea of where to go. Like, she had seen the flyer or something like that. Something about it had to do with her idea. And so, or someone's idea. Maybe it was it was possibly even like Krista Schneider called me and said, "Oh, you should go to such and such." It came up in a way that was not like my own idea of where we should go. So it was somehow suggested to me, and Erica was interested in going, and I didn't know that it was supposedly a pajama party, that you had to dress up in pajamas, because all I heard was that it was just this club, and they were serving free liquor, and it was a Bacardi event and sponsored by them. So I didn't know anything about like the theme for the place or anything, because someone else had told me about it and to go there. So I had told Erica, well, I think they're serving some drinks that are free, and also, you know, there'd be a few that we'd pay for, I guess, but, you know, it's supposedly a good club, and it's supposed to be something going on there this one night. And so she said, yeah, she wanted to go, and or she told me that about this club, and I said, yeah, okay, that sounds great, and she said she wanted to go. So however it worked out, I met with her, and we went to this club, and that is where Mike Tancer was.